guest for y'all. I'm so excited to introduce the lovely, the wonderful Dr. B. Cooper. Can you tell us a little about yourself this morning?
Yes. Well, first of all, Sammy, thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to talk to you. My name is Dr. B. Cooper. My family know me as Bridget or mom or wife. And I am an educator. I've been teaching for a long time. I know I don't look it, but I've been teaching for over 30 years.
Ooh.
And I've taught everything from fifth grade English to graduate school. And now I'm teaching in high school and I'm the chair of the English department. And I also have this other really cool alternate life or where I am creating a lot of I have a few kind of online, I'm losing my words, but platforms, on my platforms, I am creating content on marriages. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm really enjoying that part of my life.
So you're teaching on both sides, but I love the passion projects. Like those are the fun, juicy spot that we get to be in after work. I totally feel the same. Like, okay, this is what I want to be doing. It just gets you lit
Yes.
up. Even talking about it, you still lit up. So
I know. I love
that's how
it.
you know. Like that's the tell. No poker face when you talk about certain things. Like, okay, yes, that's what I'm doing. So you gave us the tell early on.
Well, I'm also married. I have two wonderful children who are in their 20s, and forging their own paths right now. And yeah, so I'm excited to talk to you about like relationships because I think it also helps me with my passion project.
Oh, of course. Yeah, we're definitely on the same alignment with the wellness and the love because part of wellness is the love part, and you can't do the
Yes.
love part by yourself. It
No.
involves the other humans, whether it's the kids, the spouse, whoever. That's actually what kind of got me to the attached book.
Mm.
A marriage counselor that I'm good friends with is like, "You've got to look into this." This was like 5 years ago. I'm
Wow.
super busy. I work corporate. I read a lot of books, but usually I read boring stuff during the day. So at night, I want something like fun and juicy. I'm like, that does not look like a fun read at all. So I procrastinated and procrastinated. And then finally on Black Friday, it popped up on my Amazon feed when I was
Hmm.
buying, the rest of Amazon. Like I was clicking all the things that I had to put in that cart. Well, I was
Yep.
like, oh, it's only like $6 today. I remember them telling me about that book. I've got to buy it. And
Yes.
it's been so good. I will show the book for everyone
Oh
who has
yeah,
not
and I
seen
have
it.
it too.
Okay, we're sitting over here. Love it. Well, I did not expect to get like 3 chapters in and be even more obsessed with attachment theory, but that's
Mm.
exactly what happened. I'm like, oh, this makes sense. It was like turning on lights all around my house in the morning, like, got it, got it. So it's been really good so far. With the book, did you take the quiz within the book or did you take one of the online quizzes to see your
No,
attachment style?
I took the in the book, the quiz in the book.
Okay, I did too. I took
Yeah.
some online ones as well just because my numbers were so close. I think it was 3 points different between two
Oh.
styles. And the little axes did kind of make it clear, but I'm like, you know what? I've taken the quizzes online before. I just want to see. And there is one on psychology today that I feel like it's almost an updated version of what's in the book because the book you
Mm.
could kind of tell, or I thought you could tell by like the second page, like, oh, this is the secure column. Oh, this is the anxious column. This is the avoidant column. You could almost tell. And I didn't want to be able to manipulate my stuff. I wanted like a true answer. So I did take the other one too, and they had the same result. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm good.
I
Like,
guess
I
that's what you
got
are.
yeah, I got the same thing. So did you get what you thought you would get? What was your experience like with your quiz?
Well, first of all, I saw your last live with Aditi, which was amazing.
She's
Chef's
so fun.
kiss. And I saw that she took the psychology today one too, and I checked it out. But I was really, to your point, I didn't think it would be any different. I kind of walked in. I think you even predicted what mine was,
I did.
and it
I
was
have
a
my
hundred.
thoughts.
It was totally that. And so it made sense to me, and I kind of stopped there. I'm sure, like you said, there's a little like those personality tests. There's always something on the cusp or something like that. But I I am secure.
I knew it. I told it. I knew it. Verify. Check. Check. Did your husband take the quiz too?
Yes,
Same
and
result.
same results.
I knew it. I saw the video of you two together, and you guys are really, really excellent at. You both have like your own flair, your own energies that are very secure and confident, but you don't clash. And I feel like
Yeah,
only secure couples, I know a few secure couples, very few actually, but those couples don't clash. Like you both get to shine. And I'm like,
it's true.
I can tell from looking that they are. So I would have really been surprised with any result but that. So I'm glad I
Yeah.
was right.
Well, he what to speak even more to the secure, he allowed me to ask him the questions and he answered them with me.
Love that. He's got full trust, like, okay, babe, let me know what it is. I like that.
Yes.
That was
And I
probably
was
fun.
surprised because some of his answers were a little different than mine. And I have all of the data here if you're interested, but some of his answers were a little different, although we ended up both being overwhelmingly secure. But I did learn some things about him, some areas about him that I didn't really 100% know. I kind of felt it, but I didn't know.
Was there any one thing that really stuck out? Like, whoa, what? Was there an answer where you're like, who are you? What do you mean?
Nothing like that, but some places where I feel super secure, like I never would think that if something was going on with us, that it would be me. So I wouldn't think that if we're having some tension that I did something wrong. But he said he would think it would be something that maybe he did something wrong. And I was like, oh, I I didn't expect you to say that. So that was a an eye opener.
Now, on the Aditi, she said that she's taken this in the past, and I have as well, and mine has shifted. Have you ever taken anything before?
I have not, but I can tell you that I am sure I was not secure before this relationship. Before this time in my life, right? I'm an older woman, so this is my second marriage, and in my first marriage, I can tell you, honey, there was no security. I think that maybe there was more. I can't remember the other two options because I tend to always remember when I win something.
Yeah.
But what were the other two options?
There is anxious, where you are preoccupied, worried, or avoidant, where you are pushing away all love, all closeness
I
completely.
was definitely anxious. I was definitely anxious. I was always wondering if the relationship was working, if I had done something wrong, if I going to be the reason for this relationship to end? What can I do to be a better wife? I was always anxious. As a matter of fact, my nervous system was so out of whack when I was in that first relationship that I was going to a homeopath and we couldn't figure out why I had so much extra weight because it wasn't what I was eating. I was exercising and it was stress.
That does, and everything you just said aligns to masculine energy, that chasing the, oh, what do I do? The doing energy. And I do, of course, that's one of my other nerd out areas is masculine and feminine energy. So, of course, I did see a couple different spots where I'm like, oh, that is super feminine, or oh, that is super masculine. But I
Yeah.
think a lot of the anxious attachment leads to really, really like thinking and overthinking and
Mm.
chasing for it, like, oh no, are we gonna fight? How do I fix this? And you're totally right. It leads to those body symptoms, the stressed out nervous system, the weight that we're holding on to that makes no sense. So all the hormones get out of whack, and we're not our best selves. So I'm glad that you are here, healed out of it, and clearly the body is back together now. So Lucky Coop for that one. He gets
She
the good
cute.
version.
She cute.
All right, he gets the healed good version. Your ex-husband, if he sees you, is probably going to be very angry. Like, wait a minute, like, what? Why does he get this version? But
Well,
hey,
he got a young version. She was really tight. She was really her skin was popping. She was really thin. So he did good. He got a good version, but he didn't get the mental health that I have now. That I think that's what's most important about what you're saying, what this test has helped me with, to think about the mental or your mindset that you're entering into a relationship with, because I haven't gotten as far as you, but I was reading about what's really important about the attachment theory is how people get together, like the two people who are in the room or in the relationship together, what their attachment profiles are and how that works together.
yes.
So what my new husband got is a person with a better mindset and who cares more about herself, frankly.
Oh, yes, definitely balanced. And I don't want to spoil too much, but that is the key to the long term success. If even
Mm,
one partner is secure, the relationship happiness meters climb. But if both are secure, they're through the roof. So
wow.
that is really showing that with both of you being secure, you've got a long, happily ever after ahead of you. So that's
Yes.
exciting. And it does kind of set you up to keep on your good path of health and hormones and
Mhm.
all of those things too, because you can be at ease and pulled back to work on whatever it is that you are passionate about with your passion projects, with your workouts, with your food. You can focus on all of those things. Someone who's
Yes.
anxiously attached is zoned in on relationship only. So let me only think
Wow.
about this marriage. Let me only look at that. It's like blinders on, and everything else around you, no peripherals. You're not seeing it. It's like it's not even there because you're so honed in on a relationship. But by being secure, you're seeing everything. You can work on everything. You can do everything. So it leads you guys, not just you, but both of you, to have room for success, room to
Mhm.
have that connectedness when you're together, but not be freaking out when you're apart. So you're in an amazing spot. Again, I called it just from like seeing you two interact, like, oh yeah, like they're not crowding each other, they're letting
Mhm.
each other shine, and even not interrupting. I think part of
Mhm.
that maybe attachment, but a lot of it is just emotional maturity. Like
Mhm.
you are not quick to jump in on him. And a lot of women are in their masculine and they're ready with their next comment, like, okay, and this, or telling him no, like, no, actually, it's this. And you
Wow.
were very seated back, letting him speak, letting him say things. So I think it was a beautiful interaction to watch real time.
Mhm.
I love when they're not scripted, like, that's your real time. So if that's your
Yes.
everyday, good for y'all. Like that's beautiful. That's amazing for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate your observations. Yeah, I even look back at that video and I'm like, wow, has she grown a lot? Because back to what you were saying about the masculine energy, you can teach yourself out of that if you want to be taught out of it. Because like you're in corporate America. I've never been in corporate America. I've been in academia or in education my entire career, but I've been in leadership roles in those areas, and I'm always coming up with strategies and having to be in charge of executing things and project manage. And so sometimes it's very difficult to come home and switch and be that person that you need to be. I had to learn how to do it, to be very honest with you. I
Oh,
am happier because of it, but I definitely had to learn how to do it.
it is definitely a process, but it's one of those things that is so worth it. In corporate,
Mhm.
I was also the only female and I was the youngest. I
Oh,
remember I started off like I was a single mom with two little kids, went
mhm.
into an interview. I was in school and like the hours that I could work, it was at a bank. The hours I could work were like super limited. And I'm like, probably I have no experience.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is not looking good. And one of the questions they ask is, if you get this role, where would you like to be in 5 years? And I was like, your desk. I want to run this. She's like, this is the busiest branch in Springfield. I'm like, okay, well, and guess what? In 4.5 years, I was running it. But
Wow.
it definitely was that. like chase sperm energy, like highly, highly masculine,
Yes.
because you have to chase, you have to go get it. And it certainly harmed my relationships, whether in
Mhm.
the attachment field or just the energy field overall, because I was the boss, like the big boss. So when I
Mhm.
got home, I wanted to be the big boss at home too. I was
Yeah.
telling my man, like, well, can you do it? Can you do this? Like, manager energy came home from work and it's not cute. It's not good. So, ideally, everybody can have their power roles at work, everybody can have their passion projects, and then
Mhm.
we can still be in that feminine, comfortable spot when we
Mhm.
are at home. So, that's probably one of the most valuable lessons. Like, once you get it, you got it. Like, okay, like, I've got that part of me for this, and this, but at home, like, I'm bringing, the fun and the laid back part. So I think you're in a great position for that long, happily ever after now. I do almost wish we could look at even like old videos, like you said, you see the growth. I wish there were videos like in my 20s or even early 30s to see the difference with my kids or something like that.
Mhm.
Like once you get it, you really start to notice, like, oh, yeah, that's how I was showing up. Why did I do that?
Yeah.
So I wish we had a reel of all of it where we could
I
like
don't know
watch
if I
the
want to see
movie.
those reels.
I might not either, but it would be good data. Okay. No judging of ourselves. But like, yeah, that was not cute. So it does, I do think it does help once we mature, not necessarily with age, but with the work. Everything becomes
Okay.
easier. Relationships and otherwise, it does become easier. There's less stress involved and just
Mhm.
the less of that chasing. So, was there anything with attachment theory that you just like grabbed a hold of for all of your relationship passion projects with marriages? Was something like,
Oh.
ooh,
Yeah, part of it is what you're talking about. I was trying to come to terms. I have some questions for you too that I wrote down on my
okay.
laptop. I'll get there, but part of me was like, wow, it's mind-boggling to me that you can be both secure and feminine. Right? Because I thought of like sometimes when people are very secure in their relationship, they can that masculine part could come out because they feel like I don't need to be emotionally attached to that. I know that everything that I'm feeling is because this is what it is. I love that this is not attached to feminine or masculine ways of being. That because a lot of these tests are personality tests, I feel very much like, oh, this is like type A, or, maybe a lot of different tests make you feel like it's a feminine or a masculine type that is attached to it. But the fact that you're saying that both Steve and I, or people like to call him Coop, both of us are both secure, and I'm still feminine and he's still masculine. That's what I like most about this test, that it does. So that helps with my marriage stuff because I call right now, I'm working on like marriages community. And I've been thinking about for a long time that for me, marriage used to be about legacy, right? Which it still is, because I've had children, you have children, so legacy is important. But as people are marrying later, marriage can't be about that anymore. For most people, the statistics show that people are not getting married early. They're getting married like 35 plus. So a lot of them may not even have children as part of their plan, and some
Yeah,
of them may not be able to have children. So what is marriage if it's not also family, right? So for me, I'm coming up with on my platforms talking about how we need to be thinking about marrying other people because we need to take care of one another, and the best place to take care of one another to me is still in the institution of marriage.
absolutely. I definitely
So
resonate with that across the board. Marriage
mhm,
is bigger than just legacy, because you could have, a good friend or a partner that there's not all the love and juiciness and longevity, that you don't want to take care of if they're sick, but you guys are building together. So building together is business. Yes, marriage is a little bit of a business relationship, but it's so much more than that.
so much
And it
more.
can be so much more satisfying if you let it be.
Mhm.
So I think that will be very interesting to learn more about too. I think that's a good observation. There's so many gems in that thing. Like I don't even know. Like I'm a bookmarker with the bending the page, but then sometimes I'll do post-it notes. And the last really good book I read, I used an entire pad of post-it notes. I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore because I'm not gonna reuse them. They're just gonna hang out in the book. So I'm like, okay. But I feel like there was just a lot of good stuff that brought up other thoughts. And I
Yes.
love that because almost every book that I'll buy, I can get a fourth of the way into it. I'm like, okay, I got it, got the concept. I know what it's about. I don't need to finish this book. And this one, I'm like reading, like, oh. So I think there's a lot of good stuff. And
Yeah.
just, you're so right that it's not just male or just female. Even a lot of the examples show you it can be
Mhm.
reversed. And I really think that security, especially, is a spectrum
Mm.
because
Yeah.
yes, you're both secure, but you are on the feminine end. And security for you looks like, hey, I feel safe with him. I can open up
Mhm.
with him, whether in the bedroom, out of the bedroom. I'm safe to sit back and not worry what he's doing today. I'm safe to let him go do what he needs to do to be successful while I do the same. And then on the masculine side, it is a little different, but he doesn't have to worry about you taking care of what you're supposed to take care of. It's almost like confidence. Security is almost like confidence in yourselves as well as their relationship. So I love that you said that it doesn't necessarily go masculine, feminine, because it
Mhm.
doesn't. Like we
Yeah.
can all see parts of all of it across the spectrum in the beginning stages or later on. I do certainly think, though, from who I've talked to or been around,
Mhm.
almost every female that I've been friends with
Mhm.
in that early stage of dating from like, I don't know, 18 to early 20s, almost all actually all that I can think of except for one was super anxious. Just
Wow.
worried like, is this going to work out? Is he the one? Like, what do I need to do to make it work? Back then it wasn't scrolling the internet for ideas. It was like reading Cosmo, like Cosmopolitan says that this is what I need to do to keep this man and get a ring. So it used to be kind of that, but I feel like most of the women that I knew were more anxious, but I had a lot of guy friends too from sports, and a lot of those guys were anxious too. Like, I'm really worried she's gonna go on this mission trip or she's gonna go on this. And what if she falls in love with someone else and never comes
Wow.
back? This is the one. What if I lose her? So I've watched it be kind of both sides. I don't
Mhm.
know if I brought it up or not, but I can't think if I did or not, but my friend that was avoidant, like from a very young age, she actually was obsessed with like I don't know how to word this nicely. Inmates. So she would write letters and like just get super into it. She'd print off pictures like we didn't have, technology like now, but she would take pictures on the digital camera, print them off, and mail them to the jail. And it would be to like multiple inmates that she was friends with. And at the time, I'm like, I don't understand. Like, you can't
Huh.
marry them, you can't make babies. Like, how are you gonna like do what we're supposed to do with that? And she's like, I love it because I get the attention that I want. I get all the feel goods, but I don't have to see them. I don't have to do their laundry. I don't have to do any of that. And I'm like, that's the weirdest thing ever. And then when I was reading about avoidance, I was like, oh, she was just trying to get away from the closeness. She just didn't want the closeness. She wanted that like safe distance space. And I had
Hmm.
known her since childhood. So her mom and dad were like helicopter parents before there were helicopter parents. Like
Mhm.
every practice, everything she went to until age 18, mom and dad were there, like in her
Wow.
face, every single thing, like just no freedom. So I think it was just the progression of that where
Mm.
like okay, I've gotten enough love for a lifetime, like everybody back up and hold that space. So when you're looking at your
Hmm.
relationships, especially those long-term relationships, can you spot, now that you're learning so much about these, can you spot quickly those couples who are in not necessarily like secure, anxious, avoidant, but
Yeah.
that are in a really healthy space?
I'm so glad you asked me that. And Sammy Joe, just know that this conversation is going to help me because I'm writing a book about marriages and I am choosing couples. So your question is a good one because someone asked me, how are you choosing couples? And I think this book may help me to think about that because I do know some very confident couples And I can tell the difference between those couples and the ones who aren't. I can just tell by the way they interact with one another, from a lot of what I'm reading here. So I'm just, you just made me have like a light bulb moment.
Love it.
And I'm
Okay.
like, yes, I absolutely can tell the difference when people are feeling a particular kind of way in that union. And even at my big age, I still know couples. Because this is the thing. One of my couples in one of my interviews said that when you get married, you have to have 3 or 4 marriages. They were married for over 40 years. They say you have to have 3 or 4 marriages. And I think some people are still in marriage one.
Oh yeah.
So they got
Yes.
married at 24 and 26, and whatever insecurities or whatever kind of attachment problems they had, they never healed. And then they went into marriage too with that same, that same emotion, those same emotions. They went into marriage three. But I think that as you evolve, something like this is useful, because if you take a test like this and then you find out who you are and you want to be in that marriage, then there's work you can do.
Oh,
But I
absolutely.
absolutely can think of at least, I don't want to name the number because I don't want anybody to be like, is that me she's talking?
Don't get caught up, okay?
But I do know some couples who are not so much in secure relationships.
Oh, I
Yep.
definitely I can think of a few too, especially some of my friends' parents who I've known for a really long time. And they may have been
Mhm.
married for ages, like 40, 50 years, some of
Yes.
them. But I can see like from a mile away, like they're married, they're still together, but the like happiness and connection has long gone.
Mhm.
And there has not been that level of work to keep that going. I do think it's constant evolution that keeps us interested as well as
Yes.
our partners interested. So even though I feel like what age was it that you guys got together and married? I feel like he got you at like
Oh,
a really good stage.
yeah, we are newlyweds, honey. New newlyweds. We've been married now a year and a half.
Okay. You're
But we've
still
been
in
together for 6 years.
okay. So you're
Yeah.
still in a good newish space, but that actually is even more impressive that you've been together that long because I feel like you guys still have just that like juicy energy, which
Yeah.
is a great thing because for a lot of couples that fizzles out really quickly and then they're,
That's
on to the
true.
next. Like,
That's
okay,
true.
that new is gone, like, and next. So I think I think you'll find a lot of good information to bring to us when you're interviewing couples. I hope you do a lot of them on video because I love to watch those because even though I feel like you're good at describing them, sometimes you can feel
Yes.
that energy more than the words can tell us. Like there's not always a word for the feeling that we get. And
Mhm.
so I think that is super valuable to everyone that sees it too because you're getting more and more information in real time. I'm sure your book will be one that is full of lots of my post-it notes or foldovers. I'm gonna be on here holding up Dr. B. Cooper's book, like, okay, y'all. On page 11, she changed my life. On page 33, she changed my mother-in-law. Like all of the things are gonna be in there. I'm gonna go ahead and speak that now. But we're
Thank
gonna
you.
get
Thank
about
you.
that book. And
I
you're
love
ready to
it.
go.
I love it.
Are there any? You said you had some
Yeah,
questions for me. Are there
okay,
any that
so
you must know? What are the
you
must
are
know?
very good. I had to write mine down. So I wanted to ask you, I have a few questions, but I'll just ask you the ones that I can get in. And I think it was like the dependency paradox. I was interested in that. Do you remember that? The more effectively dependent people are on one another, the more independent they become. And
Yes.
yeah, tell me a little bit more about that, the dependency paradox. Do you remember that
I
concept in the
do.
book?
I thought that was like a mind blowing concept because it's essentially saying what we already said that you can heal and learn out of things.
Mm,
So, a lot of times, avoidance don't want the information to get to become close, but the ones who do, this is like a huge game changer for their relationship, I feel like, because if they were to read through that concept and understand that if I can show them that they can depend on me, that I'm here for them, I love them, I do care about them,
mhm.
then it like frees them and cuts those ties, kind of takes the blinders
Mm.
off for them. That anxious is like relationship, relationship, relationship. And the avoidance, like, no, like just let me do my thing. It's crazy because if the avoidant can say, okay, they're on love blinder mode. All right, I'm gonna put my blinders on too. I love you so much. I'm so happy that I'm with you. And really just reassure them.
Yes.
Guess what? The anxious takes off the blinders. They're like, okay, things are good. I'm good. Like, I can go do whatever. So the anxious person is now free from that tie. They are able to be independent and still feel that love even when they're away. But
Yes.
the avoidant gets what they want too, because now they're not feeling that crowded, that why are you right on me? Like, go do your own thing. They're both able to function in a secure way. So I thought that paradox was really good about saying like, hey, you may not have came in naturally secure, but this is one way you can actively be secure. It
Yeah.
has not really given, at least so far, a lot of ways to reassure. But before I read
Mm.
this book, I did look at just a ridiculous number of different podcasts and videos and things like that that really had almost like a script of how to reassure your partner, or at least to ask how to reassure your partner. Like,
Interesting.
as an anxious, or I'm sorry, as an avoidant partner, whether male or female, if you know your partner is anxious and they're like so stressed and you guys are just not speaking the same language, not connecting, by saying a couple of sentences like, hey,
Hmm.
I have a really long shift today. It's probably going to be late when I get back. Don't worry, I'm going to call you on my lunch break and I'd love to talk to you on my way home tonight. Something as simple as that can take an anxious person who's super elevated by the time
Yes.
lunch comes around. Like, I'm not going to see them until 9 o'clock tonight. Are they okay? Are they dead? Are they
Yeah.
cheating on me? Is my life ending? It can take them from up here and rising, like literally from the time they know, oh, it's their long day today. I'm not going to see them for 14 hours. Then they start, just getting more anxious. That barometer's rising. But if they have that security piece, of I'm going to talk to them at this time, and then they're going to be home. They can function normally and secure. And I think that paradox really put that concept into like the science side of that concept. Like, it's
Yes.
just so weird. Like, if you know you're secure together,
Yeah.
then you can go apart and be secure too. Like,
Yeah, so
be
that's the
fine.
goal, right? The
Yeah.
goal is to get everybody to that secure place. Because what you're saying, part of why I'm in a secure relationship is because I say these things, right? I'm like, I'm not gonna. I know you don't like using the phone that much. I'm gonna need you to call me at this. Right? You're gonna need to tell me where you're gonna be, or he'll say that to me. He'll say, "I haven't heard from you all day, and I hope you had a great day, and also." I need for you to remember we're married and that I'm gonna need to hear. And so the kinds of things that happen to heal these other things, I think they also just exist in these secure relationships, right? If the security doesn't come from for me at least, and so now that's why I'm interested in the other tests to see some other questions, but it's not so much in I never have to ask a question, I never have to communicate with him about these things. I just feel it. It's also right before I talked to you, as a matter of fact, I almost missed our live because you're on Central Time and
Yes.
I'm on Eastern Time. So I looked at the phone and I was like, oh, we're meeting at 11 her time. That's noon my time. And then I said, wait,
Like, wait a
because
minute.
and thank God for you like dinging me. I mean, I had figured it out by that time, but he and I were having a conversation. We were having a very serious conversation right before you and I met, where we were laughing about it, and I was like, "This is not funny to me," we were having a good, and I said some things, and he heard me, and then he said, "I hear that." And I said, and I'm telling you, I am very secure in this relationship, and also, if you keep acting this way in this area, I'm going to take care of those things myself. And then you're not going to feel secure. Like we do have these conversations. So, what you're talking about is so important about what's happening in chapter 2, because this is the kind of things that I think secure couples do already.
You just broke down the entire chapter on effective communication, and I don't think you've even read it yet. So that's hilarious. That's so funny right now. Seriously, that's exactly what they talk about with the conversation level, the emotional maturity to have quality, clear conversations. And you just gave like a real perfect example of that. And that is what secure people do. It's not that they're never asking for anything, and it's not that they're so hyper independent that they don't need anybody. It's right in that perfect middle ground of, yes, I need you. Yes, you need me. How do we navigate that? How do we
Mm,
accomplish that? And the clear communication is the key that they talk about, because an anxious person usually is going to show up needy, like, you haven't done this or this, and now I feel
mm.
terrible and I can't stand you, and why are you such a bad husband? And the avoidant person's like, bro, like, you need to get yourself together, you don't need me for everything. And you just gave like that perfect middle ground of, yes, I have a need, I'm going to clearly tell you what it is. And then you also gave the perfect example of the person hearing it, whether the male or female, because you said, and he heard me, and he acknowledged it, and we
Yes.
were laughing. So you gave just textbook perfection of, yeah, you've got to receive it, you've got to hear it, and then adding humor. I don't care what it is. I'm a huge proponent on adding humor, makes
Mhm.
everything better, even if it's a really uncomfortable
Yeah.
conversation, whether it's, a bad health diagnosis. I don't care what it is, who it is
Mhm.
with. Injecting a little bit of humor just kind of like takes the takes a little of the weight off and lets you still enjoy who you're with, but especially with your husband, like, again, you guys are set up to win right now.
Right, right. I love that. I should read the rest of it. I feel like I was teaching this morning because I have a student that I tutor, and I was teaching him something, and then we looked up what other people say you should do, and it almost matched 100% what I was saying. And I think that has a lot to do with, honestly, the retrospection, like in retrospect and reflect, reflection. So looking at my life in retrospect and looking at what I didn't do well, that's why something like this, if you don't have a habit of surveying your life like I do, I just make a habit of it, because part of it is that's how I calm my anxiety, the possible anxiety down, right? I just try to think about, like, what did I do and what can I change? And how might I changed it this way once before and that still wasn't good. So let me change. So it's a lot of trial and error for me. And a lot of the answers that I'm able to come up with have to do with watching other people, thinking about my own outcomes, not overthinking, because when I overthink, everything goes wrong, but just thinking and reading. So when you said you read all the time, thank you for saying that. I'm an English teacher, so I love to hear when people say they read all the time, especially corporate people. Thank you. Because you get so many answers just like reading other experiences, and this book seems to me to be something that it will naturally happen if you were paying attention, right? And if
Absolutely.
you're not paying attention, then you need to read this.
Oh, for sure. There, I just feel like reading is a shortcut to information that I otherwise would not have gotten for so long, or maybe never, because I love to read from authors that just are nothing like me, because they have such different
Mm,
experiences where you can grasp things. I think you also just gave a very good balanced perspective on how you handle things going on with you too, because there is what they call like monkey mind, where you're
mm,
not thinking about anything, you are just acting, straight action, which definitely when I was younger, that was it. Whatever the impulse was, we roll with it. Like, oh, that job's here, let's go with it. And
mm.
then the other end is the overthinking end, where every single decision is just overthought, way too into it. Like, which color blue is better with me? Like, and I tend to get guilty with that at times too on certain topics that I'm really passionate about. I may get
Yes.
a little into it, but you talked about that perfect spot of like, hey, I'm reflecting, I'm
Mhm.
thinking, I'm working through those actions like, okay, well, I don't like this. What got me here? That's a perfect example of just that balanced, awakened mindset of like,
Mhm.
okay, my reality is somewhat up to me. Like, what did I do to get
Mhm.
myself in this position? And I think that is definitely emotional maturity, but also just shows that awakened state. You're not a monkey mind where it's just go. Like,
Right.
you know you have to be part of that equation, but you're also not overthinking where everything is just based on your actions. It's that healthy
Mm.
mixture. So you're showing
Yeah.
all the healthy
All
vibes.
the
My main degree is in psychology,
I was
and
about to ask you that.
yeah, I love English, but English teachers always hated me. I got in a lot of trouble in my English classes, like for real, because my very first write up and out of school suspension actually was in my
What?
fourth grade English class. I was a good kid too, like I was good. So my parents were like in shock, and my mom worked at the school, so she was like, not my Sammy, no, no, not her. But my English teacher, he was an older gentleman, and he loved to read like British and English novels,
Mhm,
and some of
mhm.
the words are spelled a little bit differently. Like they'll use like
The
an S instead of a
S's.
Z and just weird little nuances. Well, he would write that way too, and it drove me crazy. So he would write an excerpt on the board, and if it was a quote from the book, I would know, like, okay, this is from that book. That's how it's written. But if it was not from that book and he wrote the wrong spelling, I would call his butt out. And he could not handle it. And there was one day, I don't remember what it was. I think he used the wrong, I can't remember what word it was now, but he used the wrong word. And I
Mhm.
raised my hand. I was like, Mr. Fitzpatrick, that's actually not the right use of. And he's like, go to the office. And I'm like, well, I'm just saying, like, am I wrong? He's like, you're correct. Erases it from the board, throws the chalk, and I had to go to the
Oh,
office. And I got suspended because they're like, this is not the first time Mr. Fitzpatrick has complained about you. He's the teacher. I'm like, I know he's the teacher, but I don't want 35 other people knowing how to spell things wrong. Like, we're already in a small town here. Like, don't cut our legs off from under us. They're like, it's fourth grade English. It's not that serious. And
I just
yeah.
feel like you were a little justified in that. I want to give you a pass, a little bit of a pass. He was being a little bit of an a-hole. I just want to put that out there.
He was, but I still probably should have just kept it to myself and
I mean,
nicely
fourth
walked up to
grade.
him after class and said, I just wanted to bring to your awareness. But luckily for me, the next year I got a really good teacher, and he was super young and just like cool and chill. And I never had to bring anything up, but he would like see it on my face and be like, what? What is it you want to know? And I would ask. And his grammar was impeccable. So I had to just respect that, like, oh, okay, like ooh, all right, like all the vibes. And he's like, you're a great writer. Like in fifth grade, I was publishing poems and little stuff. I'm like, I could be
Wow.
like a big deal writer, okay? And then
Wait,
sports
let's
came.
just slow down. You said you can still be a big deal writer? Is that what you're
At that time in fifth grade, like that was the goal. Like, I am going to be a famous writer. Like, by the time I graduate high school, I'll probably be a household name. That was the fifth grade energy through my very thick glasses. Thank you. Um, but then sports happened, and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna do everything. And writing kind of went to the side. I am working on a little piece now, but we'll
Uh-oh.
see where that goes. We'll
Well,
see.
if you want me to look at it, I would love to do that. I do that for a living. So I am my children won't let me look at their writing because they said I'm
Too personal.
no, I am very good. You know, they're like, it doesn't have to be that correct. I'm like, okay, all right.
I personally feel like it does, because even some of my very favorite books, you can flip through any of them, and if there is a grammatical error, it is highlighted, it is underlined, and it loses like a couple aura points. Like, such a
I
great book, but
yes. But you know what? We're gonna blame the publishers for that.
that's true. I always wonder, I'm like, did no one read this first? Like,
Yes,
I'm sure, but
if
I'm
it's
not.
not if it's not peer edited, I'm not reading. I you know what? I don't want to get into that. I'm kind. I read other people's books too. But if it's not peer edited, I expect that kind of those kinds of issues because you need at least two or three sets of eyes on something before you publish it.
Oh, I fully agree.
Yeah. But I
Well, if
wanted
I
to
get
give
to
you
be
a
the first.
compliment. Can I give you a quick little compliment?
Sure.
You are a great listener. And I think that the psychology degree, that's where it comes in. My daughter was a psychology major and she wants to be a therapist. And being a great listener is not just pausing and allowing someone to speak, but it's also being able to reflect, what they said to them. So when I'm speaking to you, you're listening and you're processing, and then you're telling me what I said and how I said it. And that's very useful. So I just wanted to insert that as we're talking. I really appreciate that listening, that part of you that listens very closely to what someone's saying. It makes people feel seen and heard.
That's a great compliment. I definitely received that. Thank you.
Yeah.
See, I feel like if I was on this live with you, I would have my notebook out, like, and then she said, and then she said. So you don't have to see me with my glasses on. I can
I
just
mean,
say that.
I'm wearing mine right now.
Well, mine are not cute because I did not know that I needed to switch the lens. I haven't had glasses in years. I've had contacts. And so when I got them, they're like, well, do you want this lens and this lens? And I'm like, I don't know what I want. Just give me the standard. And they are so thick. They remind me of my elementary school. Like, yeah, they're not cute. The Ray-Bans, the frames are adorable, but the glasses themselves, you would get a good chuckle. You'd be like trying to pick them up, like, okay, these are craziness. But I know for next time, lesson learned. It's all data, and I can see in them. So I guess
Yeah.
that's important
Yeah, that's
with
important.
your daughter in psychology and wanting to be a therapist. That was my like, I must, like, I want to help all the people, whether it's friends or family. Like, I'm like, okay. And I know a lot of therapists and I love like what they do, the rewarding, all of
Mhm.
that. And then I was actually in school for that, like for my
Mm.
master's. I was gonna
Ah,
do counseling, and I came across life coaching. And so now my master's I'm working on is in life coaching. And
nice.
the reason being because I've had a lot of counseling, spent a lot of money on this healthy mindset. Okay. Like real talk, I've spent a lot of money to go
Mm,
from there to here. But for me, with counseling, it's all the backward talk and the sad stuff and the traumas and
mm,
whatever, which I do think are very helpful to process. But when people are processing those, they're crying, they're
mm.
sad, they're down, like they're just, they're at their low point to get through those rough moments. Whereas with the life coaching, they are lit up. Like they're like, okay, I'm gonna write my book. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I want to
Yes.
get my body together. And everything coming out of their mouths is about like their future version, not their past version. And I think that would be a job, one of the very few jobs out there where at the end of the day, you're
Yeah.
like, wow, like, okay, I made some progress today. I helped other people make their progress today. Like, I feel like that would be insanely rewarding to help
Yes.
people level themselves up because like if you had a long-term friend and they hit a real level up, like they graduated, they got that job, that car, whatever it was you guys talked about, they get it. It is
Mhm.
like such a great feeling to celebrate with someone like, oh my God, you just got that binge. Like we talked about that and you have it. So I feel like if I could do that as a job, like someone's gonna pay me to celebrate wins. Like, okay, sign me up. Like, goodbye. Here is my 2 weeks notice. Like, I am ready. Let's go. So I think I don't know. I think I'm always interested with the counseling, the psychology, all of
Yes.
that. Like, there's just so much we can learn about ourselves and the other people.
Mhm.
But I bet your daughter brings a lot to the table for you because daughters, they're the ones who are going to tell mama, like, Mom, I don't really like that on you, or I don't like this or that. So I think she probably brings you lots of good gems too. It's nice when we
No,
get
she
to.
I wanna introduce her to this book because I like, what you were saying about being a life coach. I can see a book like this being useful in life coaching, because to your point, the work that you do when you're a therapist is a lot more in-depth and emotional. When you're doing something like this, it seems to me that you're ready to figure out what you have that is a strength or a weakness that you can then use or change in order to get what you want to get out of life.
Okay.
So I'm intrigued by what she, because I know some psychologists don't think necessarily that these test books are the best indicator of anything. They might think, oh, that's fun. But I wonder, I'm going to ask her about it and ask her to take it, even though she'll probably say, I already know I'm avoiding it. um, but I wonder how she might think of this and how useful something like this would be as you're doing your life coaching. Are there other books that you would think to pair with attached to do the kind of
They
work you
have
want to do?
they have other books too,
Mhm.
like attached parenting and things like that. There is an author, Margarita Nazarenko, and it's not
Okay.
her entire book, but she has probably the most up to date attachment information because her book's only like a year
Mhm.
old. This book is like 11 years old. It's
Yeah.
great. I mean, it's timeless, I feel like, but hers is more up to date. There are finally emerging more studies and things like that.
Oh.
But this book really, I mean, as you read, it does reference just study after study after study.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is a field where there will be more and more books because when you read into it and when you catch it, you
Yeah.
can't argue it. Like whether it's
Yeah.
parents or whatever, you'll point out in people like all these qualities. You're like, okay, you can't argue it. Even if you read it and don't agree with it initially. I feel
Right.
like once the information is there and processed, you're gonna start seeing. So there are books, but there are becoming more and more books about it. I do think it will become more of a part of the psychology field at some point, just
Interesting.
because, like it says, like these one of the writers, especially, I think it's Amir,
Hmm.
was a counselor, and so he was going through those studies and saying, like, okay, here's three relationships.
Yes.
If I'm in counselor mindset, this is one issue, this is one issue, this is one issue. But knowing about attachment style, he could say, like, okay, well, they're three totally different issues, but they're all just the culmination of attachment style.
Mhm.
They're all much more easily solved with this information than with digging back 10 years and still coming up with the same thing. So you should
That's
definitely
interesting.
have her, read it and see what her thoughts are too, because
Yeah.
twins are very good about giving you the realty. Like they don't, she's not gonna care if she disagrees with you. She's gonna be like, no, mom, like I don't think so. Like that is not, it's not what I
Oh,
think. That's
trust
not what my
me.
books say.
I have heard it all. I have one more question for you.
Sure,
Um,
yes.
yeah, I want to know. Well, I know this answer already, so that question is struck. Um, what? Let's see. What are other thing? I guess you already talked about this, but can we kind of like have a conversation a little bit about, you know, relationships outside of the marriage? Like, just not just the, because you have I don't know if my relationships outside of a marriage are the same as the marriage. Like, I feel very secure in this relationship. I feel like we're both very secure. I don't know if that spills over into my friendships. I'm a person of very few friendships. I like few people in my life. Few choice people, even though I'm getting a little better. Like, I've joined a lot of online communities where I'm really liking more than one person, and I'm like, I like this. I'm understanding my children now, who talk a lot about meeting people online. I love it. But I wonder if I'm like that in across the board. So do you find with this theory that people are consistently attached and they have the same attachment in non-romantic relationships or non-primary relationships as they do? Yeah.
No. They
Really?
do not, because when you're in a committed relationship or when you're attached to someone, everyone gets attached, like it or not. Even if it's, a situationship or whatever, you can get attached. So once you're attached, then your attachment system activates
Mm.
and kind of hones in on that person, and your true attachment style is going to show up, whether good, bad, or ugly. But with friendships, you're not as attached,
Yeah.
so you usually show up with the good version of yourself.
Yes.
Secure people tend to be secure across the board, yes. But there are variations that you do not see in the romantic relationship, because with a friend you don't have that attachment piece because you're not relying on them really for anything. Like,
True.
they are not going to affect your future in the same way that your spouse will. They're not going to be someone that you lay next to every night or anything like that. So you
Yeah.
don't put the same level of pressure on those people. Like, if they show up for you, awesome, great, we love it, but we're not having the same expectation level. So
I
we're not as
understand.
attached. It doesn't affect our body
I
as
like that.
strongly as it would the person that you love. So, and I think we may have talked about it, like Aditi and I, about the children. I
Mhm.
think the children helped me heal my attachment issues because with them, I don't have any expectation. Like, I don't know
True.
how they, I mean, there's four of them and they're all four completely different personalities, different interests. They don't look exactly the same. Like, they just vary, and I'm totally cool with that and relaxed about that. Like, oh, you love this, you love that. Like, they all love me, and I know that they love their mama. So there is no,
Yeah.
I don't have any of those thoughts or worries or concerns. Like, even if I ground them that day or take away the dreaded PlayStation, they still love me. Like, the love is still there, the relationship is still there. I'm never not gonna be their mom. But in the romantic, there is that fear of loss that avoidance and anxious and even secure kind of have in the back of their mind, just to different levels. But with a friend, we don't
Mm.
think about, like, are we going to get divorced and not be friends anymore? Like, you don't think about that. Sometimes I'll choose, like, do they still align with me? Do I still want to engage in this friendship, or, invest myself into them? Because I do feel like I really heavily invest myself into friends. So I want it to be quality humans that, invest into me as well. And, things
Yeah.
like that, that I can have, frank conversations with. And like, I have very high quality friends, and that is intentional. But the security part is different. Like, the expectation is not the same. Now, if we're supposed to go do something and they don't show up, yeah, I'm still gonna probably get activated in my nervous system. Like, wait a
Uh,
minute, like,
yeah.
those natural body functions are still going to be there, but that level of pressure is not the same. Like, your kids are always your kids. Like, you're gonna love them and look at them more easily in a positive light, versus there's a little more up and down with a
With
closer,
them.
with a husband, with a spouse. Like, it's just closer. So they're gonna get more of your good, but they're probably gonna get more of your bad too. Just a different balance for sure. One of the things the book talked about was with anxious, especially, that people who are their friends, they would never think that they would score anxious. Like, what do you mean? Like, you're not, those don't sound like you. You're not an obsessed person. Like, I don't
Huh.
think so. Or even with avoidant, they're like, what do you mean? Like, we hang out all the time. We talk all the time. You may not notice it as much in a friend. Now, like, now that you read the book, you're gonna notice. Like, I think I have it down now. Like, oh, yep, yep, yep. And so far, my guesstimates have all been correct.
They
So
have been correct.
I don't know if I'm an expert, but we will see. The time will tell. But I do think there's just a lot that we're gonna grasp from this, and I think it may be something that incorporates into your learnings too. I'm definitely very curious to see what you find along the way, and I love to edit too. So if you want me to be one of those first ones to get the gems when they're ready, you've got my number, so you can send it on over.
All
And
right. I
I'll be
love it.
frank too, even like with my Amazon reviews and stuff like that. Like, I can be gentle, but I'm also very blunt and frank, and I'll tell you what it is, and everybody needs that person. So,
Oh, you are talking to the right person. I think I'm showing like my kind self today. I'm always kind, but I'm also very blunt and very direct. But this, I love that. I think that I want to really think about what you're saying about parents, and I want to read that attached parenting book because I'm wondering if that's the same for adult relationships. Because I have a friend who has a very hard relationship with his mom, and I feel very much like his mom is jealous of his romantic relationship. So, and not because of anything sinister, but because whatever it is she wants from him as a son, she's not getting it. So she's blaming this romantic relationship. So I'm just intrigued by what her attachment is to her adult son.
There's
Um,
studies on that too. I'll have to think. I read a book on that. I mean, they used to call it like mama's boy syndrome, but then they
right.
kind of evolved out of that terminology. And what is a big, well, there's another word that YouTube will flag, so I won't say that, but like FK boy syndrome comes from moms over attaching, especially single moms over attaching to their
Yes.
sons and just getting really, really enmeshed and almost like spoiled with
Yes.
getting that love that they want from a partner that they're not getting from their son. And I read a lot about that just because my husband, my goodness, his mama loves him. Like she loves all her boys. She has 4 boys and they're all awesome. She loves all her boys, but she loves my husband like so much. And I was worried. I'm like, is this gonna be a problem? Like, is there room for me? Is your mom gonna be at our house every day? Like before I moved here, I was like, oh my goodness. And then like none of that was like a worry that did not need to be. But I had started looking into it, and there are so many studies and information about that because in the last 30 years or so, marriage rates have, you know,
Yeah.
plummeted even more. So there are more single moms raising those boys and getting super attached. Like they may not be going out on dates because they don't have babysitters. So they're at home on the couch chilling with their
Right.
sons versus, you know, out with a man, but they're still getting like all of those chemical needs met, like the cuddling and the love and all those good
Right.
feelings. And then when the son is dating age or maybe even getting married, they're like, whoa, like, well, where's my
Yes.
son? Like, that's my son. Like, you should be here carrying my groceries, not there carrying hers. And those jealousy issues. Oh, yeah, it's definitely interesting and juicy. Like, there is one book, I'll have to see if I can think of it. If so, I'll send it to you that really explained it well, I feel like. But
Yeah.
there's podcasts and good stuff on that too. It's an interesting one. You're gonna get sucked into the hole. I warn you now.
I want to know more about that. I have a son. I was a single mom for a little while. I don't feel that way about him. I feel very much like, I mean, he had a relationship, but I wonder if the relationship also mimics something. Um, like what maybe it mimics something that I don't know. Now I'm getting too deep, but this particular person that I was talking to, I really am intrigued by how attachment theory might enter into conversation with these old theories about mama boys and F boys. So
Yeah.
that's where this conversation, this discussion left me thinking about, what are the implications for other relationships that are not romantic.
Oh yes. I think the people around us can certainly benefit from the things like this that we do nerd out on, like, hey, I can see that from 6 miles back, and let me just tell you that it is fixable and this is how.
Yeah.
So all of that information that we get, I mean, as long as we are using it for good, why
Yes.
not? Like,
Always.
and I'm sure it does keep us young and active too. Like our brains are still going. We're
That's
not
true.
stopping at a stage. Like whatever involvement I've had, I want to have some more. Like I'm not done yet. I want to look back at
Mhm.
this and be like, oh my gosh, I have so grown from there. Now I have this information too. So
Yes, yes,
lots
yes.
of good.
I know so much. I love learning.
Me too. I'm addicted, but I guess that's a
Yes.
good thing to be addicted to. So.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. This was awesome.
Yes, thank you so much for. I know we had to reschedule and you had to move your stuff around. So thank you for moving it around and for being vulnerable with sharing your stuff. Even though you got best results possible, it's still always hard to be like, "Hey, internet, do you want to know those inner details of my life?"
That's
So
true.
it's still vulnerable. So I definitely appreciate you bringing your knowledge set, skill set, and vulnerability
Oh.
to this opportunity. I'm sure we will probably connect on some more things because your passion project goes with
Mhm.
mine. So I'm going to want to get the info, but who knows? We may have future lovely collaborations to come in
Absolutely.
some space. Like, I feel like you said that you didn't have a ton of friends, that you're selective. Well, I feel like I'm very selective about the energy and the respect level. Like there are certain people who I
Yes.
instantly resonate. I'm like, ooh, okay. Like I like the energy. I like that mindset. So you get the gold star for mindset. Like, all right.
Yay!
You gotta
No,
have
I
people you
like
can.
yours too.
You gotta have people you can learn from. And I think I'm attracted to that bluntness too. That I don't feel like you would be afraid to be like, okay, Sammy, like you need to get that together, hunty. So I think that would be a positive injection for me too. So I love it. Alignment is fun. But
Yeah.
definitely, I thank you so much for taking some time out of your morning earlier than you thought to
Yes.
jump on and bring a value. So if there's anything that I can do to help you, you've got my number. I'm more than happy to come in, jump in, do whatever.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm just glad that I get to have a lot of communication with you. And like everybody doesn't need to know everything, but our constant communication have made me want to be here too. Because you are passionate and this is real for you. And I am attracted to people who live their lives that way. Like I consider passion project, like my passion project is literally how I live my life. I when I decided to do this formally, I realized I've been talking about this for like the past 5 or 6 years, and I
Yes.
feel that way when I hear you that this is not just, this is something that fuels you every single day to get up every day. And for me and I know you feel this way, for me to want to do something connected to this, like you said, I lit up at the beginning because
Yes.
this is what I prefer to do if I could do nothing else. So I see that in you as well, and I look forward to this thing growing and flourishing.
Yes. Let us do for the world what we would do anyway.
Yes, quotable.
Yes. Okay. I receive it. Well, I will let you back to all of your things. I know Saturdays get a little crazy. I
Yes.
don't have a lot I have to do because if you saw the fridge restock, I put in like 6 hours of craziness yesterday for feeding all of these humans and dogs and myself so that all week I can be in not chill mode, but my version of chill mode where I
Yes,
don't have to think about the food. I can just do the fun stuff like
that's a
this
thing.
as
That's a
much as
thing.
possible. Right.
Yes, yes, that's a good thing.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of work up front, but then I get to relax into just enjoying, and I have no kids here this weekend, so
Ah, nice.
it's quiet in here. once once in a blue moon. I still have games to go to, but still, once in a blue moon I get that. So I got to hear you today without little kid voices. It's just overall win. I got you and I could hear you. Might have to watch it back and notate a couple things, but still, you bring the energy, you bring the knowledge, and I love that you are a reader too. So when you're
Yes.
speaking, it's not necessarily just you. It's that
I'm looking
knowledge
to the side because
culmination.
Coop is here. I want him to say hi.
Oh, hey. Gotta
Come
get in
in.
that
You gotta come in the
camera,
screen. You
sir.
gotta come in the screen.
No
Hello.
camera shy. We getting on the internet early this morning.
How you
Hello.
doing?
Doing good. So I don't know if she told you before she had you take that test or not, but I had already kind of predetermined and assumed the scores you guys would get, and you both did. So thank
Oh,
you.
great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for keeping my streak going of
Thank you.
being able to recognize those secure humans. And y'all, I know you can only see part of him right now, but this is a good couple example of that secure attachment style. Like for
Yeah.
sure. We'll have to see if we can link your guys' video because
Yes.
I feel like that was just gold as far as what interactions are supposed to look like. Like you get to shine, be you, say what you need to say, but so did he. So you guys could both bring value together, and that is goals. So love
Here
it.
we
Great.
go.
See? Golden. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much.
Yes. Do you have any words of
Come
wisdom
in the
for
screen a little bit
us?
more. Can
Huh?
you see yourself?
See, there she goes. She's making that's what the book is
Yes.
about. Making space, holding space for your partner. There you
Yes.
go. You're just
Yes.
You have any Coopisms before we go?
For what?
I don't know. You always drop in. We're talking about relationship, people having certain attachment styles, and ours is secure. We can let each other shine.
Yes.
Do you have any insight about that? And I'm gonna let you come over here. So give you, if you want, get behind me so people can see the fullness of my husband.
Oh, let me walk around this way.
He's gonna come around the other way. And if you could drop a Coopism, I call them Coopisms now. He's very good with sound bites.
I don't know what you're looking for.
Well, just anything about it, being secure in your relationship.
Yeah, I think you just gotta have a certain willingness to surrender, right? You gotta have a certain willingness to surrender. I
Oh,
think that's
absolutely.
yeah, that's one of
You
the
want to
most
ask
important.
you about one of your other really good coupisms that I loved on your guys' live about dating the beauty but marrying like the inner
Oh
personality.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
Yeah.
definitely.
love I
What was
love
it?
that. Like that was
Uh,
gold.
Yeah.
you
You date beauty, but you marry
marriage
behavior.
behaviors. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's another one. I always notice that. Character carries a lot. There's a lot to character.
Even better for you because you get both that way. Like you're
Yeah,
getting the
yeah,
beauty
beauty
up
and character.
front. And there she goes. And she's like, yes, yes, you did.
Yeah, right?
You get
Beauty
the
and
beauty,
character.
but you also get the healthy behaviors and healthy dynamic. I don't know if
Yes.
she told you the end result either, but spoiler alert, when two partners are secure, the happiness ratings for men, women, regardless of age, are through the roof. Like that is
Yeah.
the best setup for long-term relationships is secure. So
Yes.
you
I'm
guys are in
ecstatic.
it to win it. Of course, you already knew that, but
Yes.
now it is confirmed. Confirmation is
I'm
always
glad she
nice.
chose me. I'm glad she chose me.
Aw, love that.
Yeah.
You said something about humor earlier. Just remember that as you're talking to him. He's also hilarious.
Yes.
I'll take it. I'll definitely take it. I love when there is kind of that mix. Like I've got all kinds of deep information and just life experience, but also kind of that level of fun too. Like, hey, take this deep stuff and implement it. That way you get to have that good time in your relationship and just in life
Yes.
in general. So
Yeah, true.
Exactly.
winning mindsets for sure.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Great point. Great point.
So we will see each other soon,
Yes.
and we are going to do some Saturday things. But I totally enjoyed this. Thank you so much for having me on, and we will work together. We're putting it out in the universe.
Yes, we've already said it out loud, and we've
Yes,
already said that we're going to do your book review too. So
yes,
that will be coming before we know it, I'm sure. It'll be a
yes.
book with lots of postmarks. It's out there, it's in the universe. So we have good things loading. Well, thank you guys
Yes,
for being here and for our future ventures. You guys
yes.
enjoy your Saturday. Bye.
Thank you, Sammy. Bye bye.
Bye.
Take care. Thank you.